If you're a young man and you've clicked on this video, I can almost guarantee you that there'll be something incredibly practical and useful that you'll take away so long as you watch this video through to the end. But essentially, there's this problem that a lot of young men face when they want to achieve a goal, but they have this resistance inside of them that stops them from taking action. Now, logically, we can be incredibly convinced and motivated to want to do something that we know will help us in a very powerful way. So, for example, let's just say you are trying to promote some sort of ideology that you have. You are very passionate about a certain view. So logically, it makes sense that you would run a campaign and you would talk in front of heaps of people, convincing them to understand your point of view. Now, it's just a random example, but you can understand that that would be a very powerful thing to do if you wanted to convince them. But what holds us back is this fear, this resistance that's almost invisible, but it's like an anchor that just stops us, like this wall that just stops us from taking action. Now, the solution to this that I wanted to talk about is essentially there's two sides of the spectrum here, right? So you got the man who is passive and the man who is aggressive. So on one hand, you got the passive man who knows he needs to take action, but he just gets distracted, he just gets lazy, and he doesn't work towards his goals like he should be. On the other hand, you got the man who's just super passionate, super energetic, super aggressive. He just takes action, but he's just running around in circles, no real plan, and he just gets stressed and frustrated, and he's like super aggressive, right? So here's the spectrum, right? You got two ends. Now the solution to this is actually neither of those. You don't want to be either. What you want to be, however, is assertive. So assertive is basically in between those two, the happy middle. Now, if I could summarize assertiveness into almost like a rule or a principle that you could live by. But essentially what it means is you have this philosophy as a young man that you just do what you want. You just do what you want. It's that simple. Essentially what that means is regardless of whatever decision you are faced with in life, whether it's a small decision or it's a much bigger decision, you have this mindset where you filter through your true desires. You ask yourself, what do I truly want to do? And then you just take action on it. That's assertiveness. Assertiveness, and I say this all the time, like I say this when I talk about this with other people. Assertiveness is like when you go to a friend's house and you're hungry, right? You want some food, but because you don't want to be impolite, say your friend's parents are there and you don't want to be rude or impolite, right? So you ask your mate, "Oh, are you hungry, bro? Like, do you want any food?" But let's be real, you're just saying that because you're hungry, you want food. So instead of actually asking and saying, can I get this thing that you want? You almost, you take this passive route and try and get your mate to sort of make it a bit easier. Now, obviously, if you go on the other end, you're too aggressive, you're like, oh, you give me some food or something like that. that's also not going to be very good, right? Because you don't want to be rude and impolite, but you also want to get what you want. So the happy balance is when you're not passive like this, like the example where you ask your mate, does he want something, when really you just want something and you're being overly polite. Or the other end, when you're just being plain rude and you just aren't, like, completely disrespectful, right? So that that analogy, I think that that serves as a good way to understand what I'm talking about here. But imagine you had this, regardless of whatever decision it was, whether it was a small decision like what you're gonna wear, what you're gonna do for the day, all these small decisions, or the big ones where it's like, which job am I gonna do, which university I'm gonna attend, who I'm going to marry, or whatever. These big decisions. Now, regardless of the size of them, or like the consequences or the resistance that comes with it, if you just have this mentality where I just do what I want. So it doesn't mean you just have this reckless, oh, I want to do something stupid, or like I want to do something that's, I'm trying to think of an example, but, oh, like I want to just steal a car and drive it, right? I know that's like an extreme example, but you get the point. We're not going to do that, right? Because we want to be smart about it, but we also want to take action on what we want to do. Now, imagine if you lived your life this way. Imagine if, regardless of whatever decision you made, and it was a smart decision, right? So we're not being reckless here. It aligns with your values. This decision aligns with your values, and you took action on it without this apprehension and this hesitation. You just take action on it because you know it's the right decision, because that's what you want to do. Just this natural, oh, I just want to do it, so I'm going to do it. Imagine how much more confidence, self-respect, how much more, or how much less overthinking you have. Just in any decision, you'll be such a more natural and attractive leader in life. That's powerful, especially as a young man, when you want to achieve a certain goal and you just have this mindset, I just do what I want, and you're assertive, you go after it while still having that control, that self-control, where you can still maintain your values. Man, that is when you will, like, just think about it. That's when you, like, truly just can have this freedom to just, man, what do I want to do? Now I'm going to do it. So I wanted to link this to a universal truth. Essentially, all of us will suffer to some degree in life. Now, I know that may sound morbid, and yeah, like, oh, we're all going to suffer, but it's true. All of us are going to suffer to some degree in life. Now, the question is, again, not what, like, whether you're going to suffer, but what are you willing to suffer for? Now, there's two men, right? And almost like the passive and the aggressive man. I want to compare the man who accepts mediocrity and the man who is great. So the man who's accepts mediocrity, right? He is the man who will tolerate suffering from things that are almost like a consequences of his decisions. So, for example, he will tolerate suffering from a job that he hates, or a boss that treats him terribly because, yeah, he just doesn't have any respect for this employee. Or another one is a relationship that he doesn't really want to be in. The mediocre man will suffer from those things. He will almost tolerate, he'll be passive and put up with these things. Now, the man who becomes great in life is the man who will not tolerate suffering from those things. But instead, his suffering comes from his active decisions. He actively chooses this suffering and this discomfort in order to become great. So his suffering comes from the fact that it's raining outside. And he planned on going for a run. So he goes for that run because he knows that he has a goal to improve his fitness, to improve his mental toughness. The man who becomes great will suffer that. He will suffer days and months and even years of trying to focus in on his business, even though it's hard and it's long hours and there's no guarantee of success and people are mocking him and doubting him. He will still suffer those things because he cannot tolerate suffering from the mediocre man. Now, if you think about just how powerful that is, what type of man are you? Are you the man who suffers from the consequences of his decisions, the one who just takes life easy and as a result his life sucks and he suffers from that? Or are you the man who actively chooses to pursue greatness and tolerate the suffering that comes from that? And the reason why I link it back to that universal rule is because you can translate this mentality into all areas of your life. If you truly apply this mindset where you do whatever you want, you know that, for example, you want to become successful in a certain field. So you just doing what you want is not staying up late watching Netflix, you eating pizza, you doing all these irrelevant things. Because yeah, you could argue, oh, I just want to do that in the moment. But I'm talking about, what do you really want in life? What do you really want to do? Do you really want to eat pizza? Do you really want to eat ice cream and watch Netflix and just be lazy? No. Those things are just, you don't want those things. You want the comfort that those things provide. What do you truly want more than that is to become successful. And that means that you have to forego those comforts in the moment. So you almost have to have this self-awareness where you understand, what is it that I truly want in life? Whether, again, that is a big decision or a small decision. What do I really want? And then take action on that. So long as those desires are in line with your values. So I want this to really sink deep with you. I want this to, I don't know what that word is, but essentially I want this to resonate with you. I want this video and this mindset to, it's not just going to be something that you hear and then you move on with the rest of your day. You may watch another video after this. But I want you to actually sit and think, what if I applied this mindset to all areas of my life? What if every decision that I made, it was no longer about what does my parents want me to do? What do my friends want me to do? What does society want me to do? What am I expected to do? No, none of that matters. It's, what do I want to do? Once you understand that, once you know that in your mind, take action on it. Start being assertive as a man, because it's only then that you can truly be that great man who goes after what he wants and chooses to suffer the cost in which he has to go through in order to become great.